All right, would love to welcome my short-term good and amazing friend and instant connection, Zheng. Z, man, so good to have you. So excited for this chat today.
Yes, so good to be here, Dr. Dan. It's honestly a pleasure and honor.
So, to the listeners out there, we literally met, I don't know, a month ago over breakfast, lunch, or dinner, coffee in Costa Rica, talking about future psychedelic retreats introduced by our good friend and former podcast guest, Rob Romano. Z, there are so many things I want to dive into, so many things we could talk about, how we met, how you met Rob, your fame on YouTube. But before we even get to that, we had
Yes.
a quick conversation about getting here today. It's been a long day. You and I have both been working, busy helping people.
Oh, yeah.
I had some coffee, some caffeine, and some chia seed water to stay energized. I love that. And you responded back to me, cool, man. I did a breath of fire meditation to get ready and raise my energy. And I'm just like, okay, we've got to talk about that because I talk to my clients all the time about different forms of meditation and calming and trying to slow down their central nervous system. But you were using breathing exercises to caffeinate in my word. I mean, tell me a little bit. What's that about? What did you do?
Yeah. Essentially, the breath of fire breath work to demonstrate, it's like taking one deep breath in if you want to do it together here.
Let's go.
Yeah, in through the nose. And then right as you're at the tip of it, take a little bit more, a little sip. And then completely exhale, relax. And then for one full round, we do rapid fire in and out through the nose. So that would sound like I'm not going to walk through the whole round for us, but that's going to be like a minute of that. And just to get our body fully oxygenated. And I'm pretty sensitive to caffeine. So every time I drink, I tend to get like overly jittery. So I love using the breath or almost like as a lever to either upregulate or downregulate our nervous system. So this was like the perfect thing for me to do before I hop on here. Because sometimes I get a little nervous when I'm like on camera and speaking, but this helps me feel grounded while energized at the same time.
I love that. Okay. So something I didn't even plan, but a good tangent you have here. One of the experiences we shared, at least briefly in Costa Rica, was a indigenous sweat lodge overseen
Mm.
by a Lakota Indian trained shaman. And one of the things I experienced there, and I'm not going to, I mean, it's a long story. I just told it earlier this morning. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But in my work, in learning to work with people in psychedelic assisted psychotherapy and just psychology in general, we use the breath to regulate a lot. It's directly tied to our central nervous system. And so when I was in that sweat lodge with you, and it
Mhm.
started to get sweaty and spicy, as they called it. And the air was thick with whatever plant matter was on those stones and everything else. I couldn't regulate through breathing. And
Mm.
so I decided for myself, I'm like, I didn't need to go through with that. You went through the entire sweat lodge experience. Did you use breath to regulate? How did you get through that?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I don't think I could have gone through it without awareness of the breath and regulating the breath. And actually, to your point, I was only able to get through it thanks to you courageously stepping out. Like, I know that might sound strange, but in my mind, I thought I was like, quote unquote, trapped in there in the heat and so uncomfortable. So for the first 10 seconds, my mind was freaking out. But you just gently asked if you can, like, excuse yourself and exit. And once that happened, it was like a sigh of relief from my spirit. I'm like, oh, I'm not trapped in here. Okay. And now I can focus on my breath because when it's that hot, future disappears, past disappears. You're just in a present moment, one breath at a time. That's literally it. I'm like, okay, just one more breath. Okay, just one more breath. And it's that constant repetition of focusing on the breath and not letting my mind or even my biology take over the narrative of, yo, this is too much. You gotta go. It was just
Yeah,
pure focusing on the breath.
yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I definitely went into the experience with the plan in mind, like if if this isn't right for me, I'm not going to push myself to do something I'm not really feeling inclined to do. And you gave me that feedback shortly afterwards. I was like, well, of course, something like that for me personally, I wrestled with feelings of failure and disappointment briefly. I did my own integration afterwards. I'm like, it's okay. I can do other tough things in life. I didn't need to do that in the moment. But you really helped me in kind of confirming that and coming back to, well, what you just said there, that helped you get through. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. Thank you. Let's go into, I could watch your biggest, most viewed video over and over. And I did preparing for for today and for, just to talk to you. Like, dude, almost 50,000 views. Do you know you're almost at like 50K views on YouTube?
I wasn't aware. It's
Yeah,
been
I
a
was
while.
just checking it today. That's a lot, man. Like, well, I don't know. Why do you think that? I guess a twofold question. Why do you think that is, and what's that big video about for you?
Yeah, well, for some context for the new listeners, the video was my testimonial of an ayahuasca experience that
Mhm.
triggered my spiritual awakening. And truthfully, and I've gotten this feedback over and over throughout the years, one of the things that really spoke to people was like the rawness of it, the authenticity of it, the vulnerability of it. Because I'm literally like, tearing up and having an emotional moment on camera, walking us through my spiritual awakening, which is not easy, it's not simple, and it's actually quite painful. And to just bear it all on camera, I think that's something people resonate with a lot. And I just felt very called to share it. Like storytelling is medicine in its own sense. So I put it out there, not expecting this type of feedback. And it was like a flood of people just like, wow, that what an experience. And yeah, I mean, you're one of the people that also saw it too, Dr. Dan. What was your kind of like impression and thoughts when you saw it?
It was so humbling to see somebody that I respect so much after knowing so little to bare your soul like that. But then also for me, it was confirming why you and I connected so easily through our friend Rob. Rob brought you in because he saw the video. You guys had done some work together, and he and I studied together at psychedelic school. And so for to meet through a mutual spirit, we knew we had shared ground, and that came about instantly. But in watching your video, I think the thing that really hit me the most was how confirming it is in that what you expressed, why you sought out ayahuasca, what was going on in your life, the struggles you were experiencing, and then how other methods had failed you. And so you went that route and had this spiritual awakening. Z, I run into people, I mean, on daily, you know, all day long sometimes, who are in a role because they thought they should be in a role
Hmm.
and doing what they thought they should do, and maybe even doing well, maybe doing exceedingly well, and unbelievably miserable and meaningless. You want to talk a little bit about what brought you to Mama Aya?
Yeah, yeah. That was a dark time of my life. Even just reminiscing back to it, it feels like another lifetime ago. On paper, I had everything, right? Good career, good money, girlfriend, friends, family, a house in Philadelphia. Like I literally had it all. And just to give you an idea of how deep in the weeds I was a software engineer, and what the work I did was like high frequency trading. I also worked at Lockheed Martin. So, and one of my friends now was like, "Whoa, that's like working in the Eye of Sauron." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's how lost I was because I was told, chase money." And not to generalize, in Chinese culture, it's very much about material security. That's how we give love to our children. So that's what I chased, material wealth. But something was missing, something was empty, and I had no idea like what that emptiness was. Every 2 years, I might switch my job, hoping the change of scenery would do the trick. And there's the initial excitement, but then eventually that wears away and that emptiness is back. That hunger for something more is back. Not to skip too far ahead into the story, but I did eventually realize what that emptiness was. It's meaning, it's purpose. It's these elements that it's almost ineffable. It's almost not tangible, and yet it's deeply felt. So I was searching for meaning, and I was hungering for purpose, and the awakening showed me that.
Yeah, that's okay. So for the frequent listener, you just heard so many words you've heard me say before: meaning, purpose, ineffable, unexplainable. And you can see how Z and I sat and had our first cup of coffee together and instantly connect over the work we want to do to help people. Something you said is really cool, and I want to talk about that for a second. You were working for Lockheed Martin, defense contractor most of the time, right? All the time, right? That's pretty much their bread and butter. And you
Yes.
said it was like working in the eye of Sauron. Tell me about that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, because my entire work now is like service, and The military industrial complex is something I am deeply, like morally just against now. I try to justify at the time in a sense that this was military, like ballistic missile defense. Like we're trying to shoot missiles out of the sky in case they come towards us. So that's how I try to justify it. And honestly, the people around me were some of the most kindest people I've ever met. Super well adjusted, very kind, friendly, right? But it was just like the work didn't actually speak to my soul or my spirit. And during that time, that wasn't a part of my vocabulary. Soul, spirit, what does that
Mhm.
mean? It's, it's nothing of substance to me at the time. And yet that's exactly what I was searching for. So that type of work just didn't nurture my soul. And now service, like true service to the collective, that's what nurtures my soul.
Full transparency here, absolute honesty. I can't believe that, right? Because my experience with you, one of our first most intense interactions, you led us through a guided meditation on one of our first days in Costa Rica. And man, that spoke to my spirit, that spoke to my soul in such a way. An hour of meditation. Dude, I've never done an hour of meditation in my life, right? It went by like seconds and it was so nourishing, fulfilling. And your ability to guide us through that meditation, the warmth of your words, the sound of your voice was so beautiful and such a great guide. And for you to say like, man, these words weren't even, these understandings weren't even a part of my vocal. Well, I can't connect with that, but I'm so glad you had the experience you did to be the person you are now. Who were you back then? What was that like working in the Eye of Sauron?
I felt like I didn't know who I was, to be honest. And firstly, I reflect, thank you so much. Like that meditation, gifting these meditation is my work, is my life. I love gifting these experiences to aligned souls such as yourself. It's such an honor to serve people like yourself. And yeah, it's actually quite the contrast. Back then it almost felt soulless. The work I did just wasn't aligned in any capacity. It almost like was like a sleight of hand of our culture to chase money, but money is a symbol. What is that representing to you? And to me, it didn't have a clear idea of what it's meant to represent. Now it's to serve the collective, is to serve the whole. And these meditations, it's like to me, it all starts from within. We just got to connect deeply with our body, heal the relationship we have with ourselves. And I speak as one who hated myself at one point. I was so self-critical. That's my life back then. These incessant inner monologue of like, you're not enough, you're weird, people are gonna think you're a joke, you're never gonna find love, you're gonna die alone. It was like unstopping these mental chatter. And there was just this tension in me. I was embodying so much tension from the psychological tension that I was holding. It was just reflected in my body. So I didn't feel free. I had lower back problems. I just had like, I was ailing from every dimension, mentally, physically. And now it's like a complete 180. I love myself now. And it's not from like a selfish place. It's more from like, I love myself and I see all of us as part of the one human family. So I love everybody. Like the self is expansive to include everybody, to include you, Dr. Dan. And that's been like the main transformation. One, finding who I am, and then two, learning to love that Z, and then expanding that love to include everyone on earth as one human family.
Beautiful, man. And that is how I experience you. But how did you get there? I'm so curious. And again, I've watched quite a few of your videos now, but for the sake of the audience, did you go right to ayahuasca? Did you try Western medicine? What was that turning point where you realized I've got to do something different? And how did you discern what you were going to do?
Mm. So, excuse me. Let me silence my phone real quick. Apologies
No
about that.
worries.
Let's see. I had tried psychedelics before. My first almost like mini awakening experience was actually through MDMA. Yeah, and it's such a powerful healer as well as I'm sure you're aware. It's like the medicine of love, I
Mhm.
went from such a rigid to experiencing so much love within me, and I was with friends. We were at a music concert, of course, and there was love all around me. And it just sounded so easy to say I love you to all of my friends. And it just got me thinking like, huh, why is it so difficult for me to say it without this medicine? Why? And then it was this recognition that I created all these blockages, these artificial blockages. And when it all dissolves, it's nothing but love inside of me, outside of me, everywhere. And so that started my curiosity with, these type of quote unquote drugs that now I start to see like, oh, there's a medicinal quality to
Hmm.
it, and led me to other psychedelic experiences, LSD, psilocybin. And eventually, when I came across ayahuasca, something kind of like clicked. Like it was just, I was so viscerally drawn to the experience
Hmm.
that I just had to seek it out for myself. And at this point, I've only experimented with psychedelics at like a personal context. But
Hmm.
ayahuasca, I went to experience it at what's it called? The Shipibo tribe. Like that's part of their culture. So I got to experience it in its original context. And that was a huge, huge life-changing experience. So there was a lot of breadcrumbs that led me to ayahuasca. And then when
Yeah.
it finally got there, I was ready.
So I don't know about anybody else listening. I'm just curious, that first experience, who was the concert?
I think it was is Dimitri Vegas like Mike. It was like a electronic dance music my friend invited me to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, why not?
Very cool. And from there, you went on to try other psychedelics, LSD, psilocybin. Were these in therapeutic settings, more in like recreational musical settings? How did you do those?
Recreational at first musical settings, and then it was more so like just at home healing settings. And I was the guy in my friend group that was like, hey, like let's just do this in a non-recreate, let's just do this intentionally, because I think like a lot of the mainstream focus 80% is like fun, which sure, I'm all for fun, but at the same time, let's not lose sight of the other side of it, which is like this is deeply healing in the proper context. So I started exploring how I can use this to heal. And that's where a lot of like my personal practices came through. And then eventually I started offering these like guided experiences for other people so that they can find healing themselves as well. Because it's like when you receive a nice gift, you just want to share it with the world, right? So it's sort of
Yeah.
like what I lean
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah, and I think very often that can be where the bad rap for some of these medicines, these psychedelic medicines, comes from, is the experience, the casual experience that sometimes turns into a bad experience or a difficult experience that people don't fully integrate, and therefore they tell their friends like, "Oh, that stuff's terrible for you." And then when you go about it the way you just shared, in a therapeutic setting, in a healing setting, with good set and setting and good preparation and integration, as we know and as we promote and work with other people, it can be so incredibly healing. For you, let's talk a little bit. What was that ayahuasca experience like? And for those that want to, let's do the abbreviated version, because I definitely want to drive some people to your YouTube channel to share the bigger version. But what was that like for you? What was that spiritual awakening like?
Yeah. The spiritual awakening, and for the abridged version, I'll say the spiritual awakening was like facing all the darkness within myself that I didn't want to face, the parts of our psyche, perhaps, that I didn't want to look at. And it was honestly a living hell. And as you know from watching the video and from psychedelic experiences, time kind of ceased to exist at certain points of the journey, right? And so depending if the
Absolutely.
present moment is right? If the present moment is enjoyable, then that's awesome. Okay, great. I could be in this moment forever. But if the present moment is god awful, and for me it was my mind saying all these negative things to myself, all these self attacks. I literally felt like clinically insane in that state. I couldn't verbalize my internal state. I was literally like slobbering and like I couldn't control my body with any grace. So it felt like a terrible time. I saw visions of myself being in a mental institution, and the vision was really sad because it showed me like kind of human relationships. My friends, everybody started visiting me to show me love in that vision, but slowly they all have to go on with their lives. And then there was not only, there was two people left. There was my best friend Hien and my mom. They never stopped visiting me in that vision. There was a recognition that, there are some people that will always love you. And then there's the other recognition that relationships are sometimes like plants. You gotta like mutually water it and give it soil, give it nutrient. And if one person is no longer offering or gifting something, then that relationship might just like dissipate. But my mom, my best friend, we just kept the love going no matter what. That was like true unconditional love. And even in that context, it was just still really sad because I was stuck in a state of just mental psychosis. I'm like, I can't get out of this. I did something wrong. Now my brain is kind of like broken. That was the thought that was going through my mind. And it was so bad that like I started hallucinating that other retreat participants were talking crap about me, like, oh, Z is ruining the ceremony. Of course, this didn't actually happen. This was just all in my mind. And that was a journey I had to go through. And now, speaking out loud, I realized that it was a projection of my own fears. I had a fear that people would not like me. I had a fear that people wouldn't accept me. And so that manifested in that vision as people talking crap about me. And I was sad, I was angry, I was going through all the motions, all the emotions. And I was so pent up with this like rage that I just like I just let it all out. And at the same time, I was being restrained by three grown Peruvian men because I was so unwieldy and I was trying to hurt myself. I was literally trying to self-harm, as you know, to end the experience. It was that horrifying that I was like, I gotta end this. Whether it means the brain goes offline, whatever, I just gotta end this. So they held me down and I just like roared like a lion. And you know me, like I'm very chill, I'm very calm. So
Right.
for me to like,
Yeah.
everybody was shocked. That's how much mental turmoil that I was in. And before I go into like the trigger point to awakening, I just want to give us some space here in case you have any like clarifying questions, or if you like, I can go straight into it too.
Well, I think just to kind of highlight that, man, that sounds so much. When we talk about ayahuasca specifically, we talk about the purge, the physical purge. But what you just described, roaring like a lion, man, that sounds like such a mental, emotional, spiritual purge that all of that pent up energy just had to come out, man. Such a
Yeah,
beautiful and frightening part of that story.
yeah. It was truly horrifying because it was like nothing mattered anymore in this moment other than freedom. I just wanted to be free
Mm.
from this pain. I just want to be free from this bondage. I just want to be free. And in fact, freedom was the theme of me going into ayahuasca. I prayed to the plant. When the shaman asked, like, hey, why are you here? I prayed to the plant and I said, I'm here for freedom. And I understood it at a deeper level what that meant. But beyond that, I couldn't put it into words. I just didn't feel free as a person. And I realized I was trapped in the prison of my own mind, my own thoughts, these self-limiting beliefs. I was caging myself from within. And that's where the awakening happened when I finally tried everything. At that point, I was fighting for hours. Ayahuasca is about 6 to 8 hour experience. I'm hours into it in my personal hell, held down, bounded, screaming. I just lost energy at one point. I was just like, I did everything. I literally did everything. There's only one thing left to do, which is to just surrender, just give up, whatever. This is life now. And when I did, everything clicked. That's when I awakened. That's when all the mental chatter is just quiet, just silent. And I was like, wow, it's so peaceful in this space. And then a vision came through, and it's basically a metaphor for my relationship with myself. It was a vision of a prisoner and a prison warden, sharing space, but the prisoner was being abused. The prison warden was the one yelling all these obscenities, you're not good enough, to the prisoner. And it was in that awakening experience that I realized they're both prisoners. They're prisoners to the unhealthy relationship that they have to each other. Abused was stuck being abused, and the abuser was stuck being the abuser. So they were both in a disharmonious relationship. And upon awakening, I realized that was my relationship with myself.
Mm.
And the prison walls in the middle dissolve. And then I just saw them two get together and they hugged and they became one. And that's when I was like, oh my God, it's so simple. Love yourself. That's it. Then there's no division. You don't divide yourself into two. You just love yourself and you become love. So that was the crux of my spiritual awakening. And of course, it branches off into so many beautiful directions, but that's one of the core roots of my experience. And I'm just here to like share the message. Hey, love yourself. You're worth love. You're worth it all. You don't have to do anything to deserve it. You were born deserving of love. That's my message here.
So good. Dude, I love spending time with you, Z. Just that love comes through. Just 800 miles away from that screen. That's just who you are. And again, I think maybe that's why I have such a hard time imagining you to be anybody else years ago. But I believe you, and it's amazing to think in every personal experience, every experience I've supervised or guided, or just talked to people about that. Those universal themes come out, right? Love, just overarching love, self-love, community love, different forms of love, universal love, but then surrender. We fight so much, right? For me, I'll be honest, I was having a hard time being fully present because hearing your story was taking me back to my first psilocybin journey, my first big psilocybin journey through my training. And I often tell people for that first half, I went to war. I went to war with my family, for my family, against evil, against so many things. And I needed to, because then in finding surrender, I found peace and so much love, so much love. It was amazing, right? It's been almost a year and it still chokes me up every time I talk about it because it was so transformative. But to your point, this belief that, love yourself, that's what you need in your life. And sometimes that, you don't have to go off and do psilocybin, ayahuasca, MDMA, all these things to help it. Now, it helps in some situations, but your teachings, let's talk a little bit about that. This transformation, you said, has taken you in a lot of directions. You've gone from, I mean, honestly, I hear Tony Stark, right? Warmongering, making missiles, all this kind of stuff through Lockheed, to becoming Iron Man and sharing love and helping people. What direction has that taken you in now?
Honestly, the most exciting and life-fulfilling direction I've been in. I feel so alive right now. I realized that in the past, I didn't feel alive. I didn't feel human. I almost felt robotic. It's strange because my background, computer science, it teaches a very linear way of like being. And so I felt almost very robotic as a person. But now I feel abundantly alive. I'll just go and touch a tree. And I know it sounds strange, but like I just want to get grounded sometimes and I'll put my hand, rest up my hand on a tree and I'll feel grounded. I feel nice. And I do a lot of coaching now. I help people heal that inner relationship, that inner critic, these feelings of inadequacy, even the what ifs, like the anxiety, the what ifs. I'm just helping them heal their inner space. And my God, I'm so proud of the work that I do now. Like every session, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I get to serve. And that was what I've been searching for in the past, and I couldn't find it. It was so simple. It was simply because I wasn't serving. I wasn't serving the highest good of humanity and the collective. I was serving my own pockets. And, there's nothing wrong with that in the sense that this is the system in this current form that requires us to work for money to survive. It's just I was missing the other part of it, which is service, aiding the collective.
So awesome. I know you and I have talked about this when we were in Costa Rica, but even the most exhausting days doing what we do is so incredibly rewarding. Still exhausting,
Yeah.
but so incredibly rewarding. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, what we're doing, right? So we met through a mutual friend. We have formed a team. There should be a website soon. We know Rob can put together a website in under 5 minutes, usually, probably with your help, being, the software guys you are. What are you most looking forward to in our future work together?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, sharing space and collaborating and honestly transforming like ourselves. As you know, right? Like as facilitators, we are also transforming through the act of facilitating, through the act of holding space. And my friend recently put me onto a new word, which is facilitant. Is like a
Mm.
facilitator and participant. And that's exactly what it feels like. And those that we facilitate with, we change together. Like just being with you, Dan, in Costa Rica, there was an immediate like recognition and kinship. I was like, oh, I know this man. For some reason,
Yeah.
it was like, you're right. I was like, I really know this guy. Somehow I know Dan. And so I've always just leaned into that. And I know we're here to continue ushering in aid and healing. And that only amplifies as more people like us, step up to the stage and work together. So I'm deeply honored to be working with you and taking in your years and years of wisdom. And at the same time, I'm curious to see who we become through the act of collaborating and who we get to serve through the act of collaborating.
Yeah, we've already seen that team grow in so many different ways and contract in so many different ways. It's been quite an experience in systems and just overall growth and love and kinship. Yeah, I can't wait. I know we are meeting pretty regularly online and through Zoom to plan upcoming retreats, whether they're in Costa Rica or stateside as that's right. Because I've shared this before. I got back late Friday night, early Saturday morning when I believe most of the team was still wrapping up in Costa Rica and packing up. And so I woke up that Saturday morning,
Yeah.
was having coffee with my wife. My phone was across the room. We were just chatting, catching up because I've been gone for a week. And the next thing I know, I pick up my phone and it's blowing up, right? Like everybody, are you seeing what's going
Mm.
on? I'm like, what is going on? And that was the day the executive order was signed to fast track these medicines. And so who knows where we'll get to be able to be working in the future. But I tell you what, between the peaceful and beautiful retreat center, but then also the earthy, wild jungle retreat center, the two that we toured, dude,
Mhm.
I can't wait to work at either one with you or wherever we might wind up. That was just so cool.
Same, same. They both have so much to offer in their
Yeah,
healing potential and qualities. But yeah, us together, the team is a very heart-centered team, and that's like my number one criteria of like who to collaborate with. Like where is their heart at, you know? And if it feels right, then I just full commit, and this feels fully right.
totally right. Yeah. Except now, I'll be honest. I'm not sure Shaman Alejandro and all of his talk of dancing with the jaguars in the jungle at night. I might stay back and just hang out with the monkeys during that time. But if you want to go dance with the jaguars, that's he was big on that, man. He was big on toughness. So.
You said that. You
Oh
said
yeah, I
that.
remember that. I think that was while we were sipping on some cacao or something like that. He was talking about,
That is hilarious.
oh yeah, yeah, being called by the jaguars, going out in the jungle at night. I'm like, nah, dude, I like the monkeys in the trees. I'll hang out with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be right next to you, man. I'm good with jaguars. I'm
Well,
fine.
I'm not sure. Did we ever tell you? It's a little side story here. So when I'd opted to step out of the sweat lodge, I did some journaling, some integrating, and here Rob was up the stairs. He was just kind of meditating because he just bowed out from the start. He didn't want to do it, and he hesitated. He said, "Well." The shaman said, we're not supposed to help each other during this. So I stayed back. Like, that's cool. I needed some time for integration. But eventually, while you guys were still in there doing your work, we just kind of sat and chatted on the steps there. And I look up and no kidding, I'm like, oh man, look at that. There's a monkey. And then we were surrounded by like a dozen monkeys, man. It was awesome. And unfortunately, by the time I didn't want to like ruin your experience, we're like, oh, you got to check out the monkeys. And by the time we had wrapped up, it was too dark to see them anyway. But that was a cool part about being there. So Z, where can people find out more about you, your work? Please go check out Z's video on his experience, and he's got a bunch of other videos there too. Where can people find more out?
Yes, I'm on YouTube. The channel name is Moments with Z. That's Moments with an S, and Z is spelled ZHI. It's the same thing on Instagram. You can stay most up to date through YouTube and Instagram. I have a mailing list that you can find through Instagram as well. And actually, I've channeled like a lot of what I've learned from that ayahuasca awakening experience into a book. It's published my own book. It's called Inner Care, A
Hmm.
Simple Guide to Coming Alive. Highly, highly recommend checking that out. Audiobook also coming out soon. Inspired by you, Dan, I'm taking the leap here to record and use my voice more out there. So thank you for the encouragement. Truly, yeah, audiobook coming soon. Those are all the places that you can
That
find
was
me
going to
at.
be my first question. You're reading it?
Yes, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Dude, I'm so in. I can't wait. Listen, look, faithful listener, you got to understand, like, I'm not sure what the audio quality is going to be like here. We're on Zoom, we're 1,000 miles apart. But when you're in the presence of Z or when his voice is dialed in, dude, you are so calming, so peaceful, I mean the love that everything you say you want to embody comes out in your voice. It was just so lovely to have you guide that meditation. I can't wait to listen to the book. I think I have a copy on my Kindle that I haven't cracked open yet, and now I'm not going to because I just want to hear you read it, man.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Truly, yeah, I can't wait. You'll be one of the first to know once it's released and available.
I can't wait. We will make sure we include links in the show notes, Moments with Z. Go check out the extended ayahuasca video. Check out the book. Look, I'm going to be honest. Get the book, read it now, and then wait for the audio and listen to it. Then it's going to be one of those books that I know I'll have multiple copies of. So, Z, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you, brother. Likewise, it's an honor being here. Thank you so much.
Take care.